Welcome to Roll of the Dice, a Game Master's Guide for better role-playing. I'm Dan.
And I'm Lee.
And in this episode, we're talking about ending a campaign. Is it time to stop? Time to fight the main bad guy?
Ooh.
Or, you just forgot what to do.
I have no idea what to do now. Dang it. I had it all written down, and then I forgot it at home.
I was actually thinking about this one. I like ending a campaign. I'm like, how hard could ending a campaign be? You fight the main bad guy and it's done. But I started thinking about it. I'm like, as we wrote our notes for this episode, I'm like,
yeah,
this is actually pretty interesting. I mean, there's a lot of things to talk about, and
it's the whole wrap-up of it. Yeah, it's a whole wrap-up of everything. And sure, you can just do that. You fight the main bad guy, but will people remember that at all? That's what I think is important. Really having it stick with them. And then, as always, when you end something, you want them craving more. Like, all right, I can't wait to get these characters out again for the next adventure.
That's one of the things. I guess you have to decide when ending the campaign is if it's really going to continue after it ends, or if this is the final finale for those characters.
Yes, yep. And I've done both, surprisingly. Normally, I like to continue playing with those characters, but sometimes it just works out really well and the things that happen, we just end that whole campaign, and we haven't gone back to some characters, and I don't think we need to. Like, the story is done. Things happened, and that's it. Let's not continue dragging out their story. They finished.
And sometimes people like to change their characters up at the end of a campaign and say, I just don't want to play this character anymore. Can I trade them out or make a new character? And then some of the other players are like, no, I'm going to keep playing my character. So it's a good time to reevaluate if everyone's still on board or still having fun with what they're doing and who they're playing.
Mm-hmm. What constitutes ending a campaign? I mean, there's different variables. Yeah, maybe you ran out of ideas, or they're at the end that you had planned out from the very beginning, that you wrote the ending, they're there. Or maybe you just ran out of time in real life. Maybe someone said, hey, I have a new schedule, shift change or something. They're not completely there at the end. Sometimes you have to move your ending sooner rather than later, because stupid real life is kicking in and you have to finish a story. And that sucks.
How many of your campaigns that you've ended had ended exactly how you thought they would end?
Zero. And that's not because of planning, it's because of people. I'll have it written out. Okay, well, how much percentage? I say zero. Like, my original ending idea is there, like the whole outline of it, but the way it's played out is probably 0% because of everyone's input throughout the entire session, changing ideas.
And they automatically attack the bad guy once they see him and kill him, and you have to create a new bad guy.
Sometimes, yes, that's also true. When you mentioned back in another episode is sometimes after a game, you're just sitting there talking after a session, and you're like, ooh, you're right, that is a better idea for the direction I should take this campaign, and then you rewrite it, things like that. So, like I said, I have a good ending, then maybe the party, a character, a person leans it towards a different direction. That's actually a much better angle and idea. I'm going to rewrite that. So always be able to change that campaign to fit their characters and fit the group.
Okay, so now you're getting to this ending because whether it's what you planned or not, how can you make sure it's going to be memorable when it's nowhere near what you had planned in the beginning?
You can do a couple things. One is, since you've changed it and you made it more attached to the players, however you did that, making it more personal. Maybe the antagonist did something to really cheese off your player characters, maybe killed one of them, killed an NPC that the player characters liked, or they came throughout the story, they came to the realization on what evil, actually really sinister plan the bad guy has. Now it's like, all right, before when we started the campaign, it was, okay, well, we'll stop this bad guy. Then you realize, oh, this person is up to really no good, and if we don't stop him, actually we're all going to die. Maybe they have a nuke or something, and they're just going to take out everyone because they don't care.
Every bad guy has a nuke.
Mm-hmm. So I guess I'm talking about more every bad guy has a nuke. Every one of
just in their back pocket.
Got some dirty bombs. But that's one way of doing it, is with a really good combat session, making it interesting. And I'm not saying hard as in you have to roll the dice. That's something I don't like. To make things challenging is the only solution is if you roll really well on your dice. Well, that's luck. That's not skill, unless we're talking about Eric, where rolling dice is his skill. But I don't like that.
I think that kind of leads into the story I have, I guess, of a game that had not necessarily like a horrible ending, but
Wait.
I didn't feel fulfilled after the campaign ended.
Hold on a second. Is this a Dan's story corner time?
This is a Dan story corner time.
Yay! Cue the music.
Cue the music.
All right.
Once upon a time, I was in a game, and the system we used, I forget the name of the system, but we simplified the rules so that the way you succeeded was by pulling from a Jenga. So you set up a Jenga blocks.
I just heard about this game. Yes.
Yeah. It's an interesting concept. And if you want to succeed, you have to pull a block, or if it's a really hard task, you might have to pull 2 or 3.
Mm-hmm.
And if the thing tumbles down, then it's a failure. So in the campaign we were running, it was a one-time adventure, so it's just a one-day thing. And if the thing fell, most likely your character was going to die.
Yep.
So we ran through the campaign. My character just, I think, made it to the end, and we were fighting the main bad guy, and it came down to pulling the blocks. And it's like, okay, everyone has to pull 2 or 3 blocks. So we kept going, got close to the end, and then the blocks fell, so we lost. And I think what happened was they fell, and it was just, well, game over. Basically, he takes over the world, characters die. That's the end.
And that was it. Huh.
And that was it. And we had struggled up to the point, and I kind of felt it was just not the kind of ending you would want for all the struggle we had built up to that point. Mm-hmm. And then it's just like, yep, you lost. I kind of like, the game was fun. We had a great time, but for some reason, like looking back at it, I'm like, I kind of feel like
you're kind of
something was left out. It was my player character's death, or me personally, or the campaign ending. I just feel it was unfulfilled, and it didn't do justice to the rest of the game that we played.
And that sucks.
It happens. Yeah,
it definitely happens. Yeah, whole campaign wipe, and it's, well, where do you go from there? That definitely sucks. And if it was more of a survival game, I think that the game you're talking about is called Dread. It's like
I think that's the system.
Instead of rolling dice, you pull your Jenga pieces out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, the game we played was very survival based. It was very Cthulhu
mm-hmm.
Themed. So you knew you'd either go like crazy or you're going to die.
Yeah. But that's fine about dying, is if you're able to do something while you die, then your death has meaning or something like that. So I have a story time example of, I thought was actually a pretty good ending of a game that I ran and that you got to play.
Is this your first story time? Lee's story corner?
I guess it would be, yeah. Cue that.
Are you going to get different music than me?
Yeah, cue that other music. Oh, why does mine sound a little more janky? Oh, well. Yeah. All right, so this one is played quite a bit of it. It's Deadlands Hell on Earth campaign that I had, where you played BB, Bloodbath, the crazy psyker guy. The main story idea was that you guys needed to collect these items of power, and each of you had these items, and they all were, it's really similar to Captain Planet, I guess, would be the simple, cheap example of what these things were. You got these items of power, and you knew that you could use these to open up a portal to get back home, basically. But you wanted to not go back just to necessarily Hell on Earth, obviously, your own real world, because Hell on Earth is terrible. You wanted to go someplace back that was good, maybe in the past. So you're going to do that, but you had to get to a certain location, blah, blah, blah. You got there. But then all of a sudden, one of the horsemen of the apocalypse was there with his army of undead, and it was actually war. And the Legion, and just swarming over the fields of Virginia, I think you were in, and they were coming towards you. But you knew you could also use all your gifts together, like a energy blast, if you combine them together. And you guys did that. You rolled whatever you needed to roll. I had to do. You hit War, and he was on top of his horse with this huge energy blast of your combined souls, basically. And you took out War's horse. You disintegrated it, the embodiment of War. I think like half of his face was gone, and he was in really bad shape, but was getting back up. And I think you took out most of the zombie horde that was behind him.
Yeah, he had a huge army behind him that we knew.
Yeah.
If they got to us, we were dead.
You guys were just dead. And so the last bit of energy you had, or whatever, combined together, you open up a portal, but you open it up to you don't know where. Because we got to get out of here, because War is coming, he's regenerating, he's starting to make his army come back up, and it was, oh crap, we got to go. And so Eric's character, Kyle, basically just looked at you guys and said, something like "I got this" or "Go," and he ran towards War, jumped on him like a bear hug because War was, I assume it made him like 12 feet tall, just this enormous guy. But
Yeah.
yeah, Eric's character jumped on him. He had a bunch of grenades strapped to his chest. When he saved them for this moment, pulled one of the pins and face to face with War said, "Fuck you," and blew up and blew him to bits. Sure, War was going to regenerate, but he just needed that. You guys needed that bit of time to escape, and then you guys went through the portal, and Kyle was dead, and
And we made a huge enemy.
But you went to a different world, and I don't even remember where you ended up, honestly.
I think you were trying to get us to go to what's that planet?
That's right. Now I remember Banshee. I think you ended up in
that
Deadlands.
was when that game came out, and we were about to switch into that campaign or whatever, to a new world or whatever.
New world.
It's called. What it's called, but
it's called Deadlands Lost Colony. And another part of Kyle's sacrifice was we had another character who she was a little girl, Carrie, and she was like, I think maybe 8 or 10. And throughout the campaign, she had fallen head over heels in love with Kyle. And then her screaming, "No, my lost love. I mean, I'm only 8 or 10, but my love is dead." And
she was really small.
Yeah. Well, she was a little girl with a teddy bear, a gun inside of her teddy bear.
Yeah, she fell in love with Kyle, and apparently my character, BB, for some reason, was like the father figure.
Yep. Because
which kept him at bay too, is this guy who loves to kill people and just like rip them apart. But this little girl's the only thing keeping him from doing it because he can't do it in front of her.
You're like, all right, fine, I won't. Even though she was a murdering psychopath too.
Yeah, it's true. Well, it was a weird group of people.
She had to do what she had to do to survive. But
yeah, that was a good ending because not only did the player, that the character itself did something to save the other party. It's memorable. The player also knew that they probably wanted to change characters, especially if we're switching to Lost Colonies where
exactly.
There's different archetypes and things like that. You probably wanted to switch characters, and that was part of the plan.
And then we never got to play that.
We never played that, yep.
But there's that one ending. I have another story time ending of a different game we played. Yes, this one we played, Brave New World, where you're superheroes. It's sort of like a setting of kind of like X-Men, where you can either register with the government and be a superhero that actually goes out and hunts down other mutants, or in this world they're called deltas. So they're floating in a Mayan temple on their way to Washington, D.C. to destroy the entire universe. Wait, maybe I should back up a little bit.
I don't know. You could just start there and just leave people confused. That's fine.
So, yeah, all these things that happened, character growth, characters getting together with one another, and so on. And what happened was they knew that this Egyptian demon called Amunt, she had all this stuff, and she was going to just wipe out the universe because she had been forgotten about. And a bunch of other stuff happened. The heroes were kind of captured or stuck because they were kind of powerless against this god. They really couldn't do anything. Demoness decided, well, okay, I'm sick of all of you humans. You've corrupted the universe. I'm going to wipe you all out with this basically ancient device I have. Also, there was this other character who was an evil guy we've been always fighting against called Alan Rigsby, and he saw his opportunity to use the device and gain her powers for himself. During this, when he got his power transferred over to him, that's when all the players were able to act now and had a huge fight while he's still slowly gaining all of her godly powers. So he wasn't at full strength like she was. Devin, played by Joe, Devin's girlfriend, was basically just thrown off of this floating island to her death. But what happened was Joe had played it where he plays a really cocky character, someone that is always sure of himself, and whatever he does, he knows he's gonna succeed. And he basically bluffed his way, like, "Yeah, Alan, you're not gonna kill Trinket, his girlfriend." And he said, "Oh yeah, I am," and threw her to basically her death. And that's something that really stuck with Joe afterwards when we ended this, was he found that he was no longer immortal, or that he could make mistakes. And so when this whole thing ended, he gave his character PTSD that we've been actually playing in another story arc where he's trying to figure all that out on how he had failed his girlfriend. Yeah, she survived because of the other things that happened, but it was really a big turning point for the character, and he is not the same.
I like I like it's very hard for GMs to do this, and I don't think you have to do this at every ending of campaigns. But to have an ending where the player characters themselves are changed from the battle that took place or
Yes,
the situation that took place at the ending of a campaign, that to me is what makes an ending memorable, and it's what I like to have when playing. You get to that ending. I like to have my character struggling to succeed, but the success also, I don't know what's the word I'm looking for,
there was a sacrifice
changes.
to that. Yes, it
Yeah, as a
changes them.
sacrifice, it changes your character in some way. Either
Yep,
either you successfully get rid of a hindrance you have by fighting against something to get rid of that fear or whatever hindrance you have,
yep.
or it creates one, or it creates a situation that changes your character or pushes on the next part of the campaign.
Definitely. And that's basic circle story structure where you start off as yourself in a, I guess, zone of comfort, and then your character wants something, they need something. So then they go and they try to get it. They go into an unfamiliar area or where they're going. They keep searching for it. They try to adapt in this new world that they're being thrown into. That they find what they want, whatever it is, whether it be they wanted to find their courage, they wanted to find that they are actually the hero or whatever. But then they take it, and a heavy price is paid for that. And that's exactly right. Your character has changed somehow, and then they go to the return. They come back, whether they succeeded or failed, but they definitely come back to their zone of comfort or something that was known to them going back. But they have changed now. They're no longer the same. Yeah, maybe they started off in a farm setting. They wanted to be that big epic hero. Then they come back. They find a princess. They save her. They destroy a Death Star. They come back, but now they're changed. Yeah, they're still the same person, but they've been changed somehow. They see that the world is a bigger place. And I definitely didn't describe Star Wars,
Not at all. It's a completely different story.
but it's a basic and good way to do a story and then end it that way. But I feel that sacrifice or character change is extremely important to do, and extremely hard to do.
I think when I look at, I was trying to think of like a good example too, and I think of like movies or TV series. It's like if you're going to continue the campaign, a good TV series always has that hook at the end of the
Yeah.
season. And I don't want to give any spoilers away, but season one of Stranger Things, I think, is a great example of a campaign ending where you tie up all your loose ends, everything, you save your person, everything gets tied up, and then something happens to lead into the next series of events.
hmm And it's just a little bit. Yeah, we won't spoil anything, even though you should have watched season one, and you should have already finished season two now.
By now,
I
yes.
mean, really, it's kind of on you. You should have already watched this stuff, but yeah.
Stranger Things is a good example of a campaign system, I think. Each episode is a nice little session or episode, and then you lead up to the campaign ending. It's a pretty good ending and
Yeah,
changes all the characters.
because the Duffer Brothers made it that way because they're huge D&D fans, and it's all throughout the entire. I mean, the characters are playing D&D, and each of them are archetypes in that world. So, but that's a perfect way of wrapping up, and just a little bit for the next campaign, the next season, if you want to call it that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, instead of my huge, I know my example for Raven World was this huge epic battle and things I had built up, all these different storylines from years were all tying together in one point, and I wanted to wrap it all up in one enormous thing. Sometimes you want to, I mean, just ending a simple 5-session
Mhm.
campaign. How do you still make that memorable?
And don't be ashamed. I mean, I've played games where we wrapped up the campaign, and suddenly one of the characters goes, "Well, what about Bob the Butcher? We never finished that. He was part of this group,
Mm-hmm.
and
Oops.
we're like, oh, whoops. Well, yeah, he just went away. Or well, never mind about him. We'll move on." And
Or he ran.
sometimes you forget about stuff. I mean,
Yep.
you don't always wrap up every little thing, but sometimes you might forget about something, and don't be ashamed of that. Maybe he'll come back. Maybe you just say, you killed the main bad guy and he decided to retire.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So,
Or Bob comes in. He's like, I've been here all along. Actually, I went and got you some bacon. Here you go. Here's your reward, everyone. I brought you awesome thick strips of bacon.
here's a tip. Don't eat the bacon from Bob the Butcher.
Oh, why not? I was
I
gonna
mean, if
say,
he was a bad guy, I wouldn't eat the bacon.
oh no. But now he changed me a bad guy. Or it could be that I wanted to say that maybe you forgot about it, but now you're like, well, actually, I can make that into something. And at the very end, maybe improv it or write it out real quick once and tie it on and say, oh, maybe he was gone because he's up to something else. He's got his own plans. And now you can continue there with a little stinger at the end of something, whether it be a note or the character who just realized that is, hey, what about Bob the Butcher? Dum, dum, dum.
Yeah, and that leads into what do you do next? What happens after the campaign ends? Maybe Bob the Butcher becomes the bad guy, or
something.
You change it up.
Mm-hmm. You gotta stop him from selling his poisonous bacon.
Man, Bob the Butcher selling poisonous bacon.
That's a crime. You're poisoning bacon? Oh, just come on, man. That's not cool.
Even if you know it's poison, you're still going to eat it.
Yeah, it's bacon. Yeah, it's free bacon that someone's handing to you. Yeah, I'm going to eat it. Is it poison? Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It's going to be good.
Whatever.
What else can we do to make it memorable and not having to bank on changing a player's character or having them sacrifice themselves? I think just
successful battles have also been a good ending where you fight the bad guy and it's very hard, but eventually you defeat him. It's not necessarily that a character has to sacrifice themselves to kill the bad guy.
Oh no,
or
definitely.
the characters have to get PSD or
it does. I'm looking at other examples. Yeah, definitely doesn't have to be this epic, enormous thing. Just we had 5 good sessions. We're at the end. Let's just wrap this up and have fun with it. And you're right, having a fun battle, not dragging it out too long, but giving every player a chance to do something cool is always fun. It's no fun when Eric comes up and he's first because he has high initiative and then rolls awesome damage and then almost takes out the main bad guy. Oh well. This is going to be a 3-round fight then, huh? That's no fault of Eric of his own, but sometimes you have to fudge things or maybe not necessarily drag it out, but extend the combat a different way.
What about a non-combat ending? Just thinking off the top of my head.
That's a good idea too. Off the top of our head.
What? Yeah.
I know. Yeah, we're going off our notes. Man, we're in new territory.
Yeah, we're in territory here. We're going to mess this up now.
Yeah,
everyone's going to stop listening because we're off notes.
Mm-hmm. Well,
two people.
All the 2 people. And thank you to those 2 people. Thanks, Mom and Dad. They don't listen. I know I gave an example a couple episodes ago about this crazy wizard that was taking over the kingdom. But you guys had roleplayed it, say that you found his diaries and you found out that his whole family had died in a tragic accident or of some kind. You have this information and you come in instead of guns blazing or swords swinging, I guess.
Yeah.
You come in instead of and really be diplomatic about it and empathetic to him, and whether or not it's role played well or if the GM decide if that's an option or not. I think it's a really good idea to come in and just be, hey guy, why are you being such a grumpy Gus? Let's talk about this instead. Let's sit down, have some bacon. Not from Bob the Butcher, but
not from Bob, yeah.
Yeah, and see if we can figure this out.
I kind of think like for GMs, a non-combat ending to a campaign is much harder to pull off than a combat campaign. Because like if we walk in and there's a wizard, you want to kind of set up a tension. He's like, I'm gonna pour this last ingredient into this bowl, and it'll create this spell that will kill everyone. You're like, stop! And he's like, well, stay back there. And you're having this conversation, playing off that conversation to keep it on edge is very difficult, I think.
Yeah, because you always want to have that feeling of you might not succeed at the end here. You made it. You've gone through all the legions of things to do to get here, bad guys to fight, and so on. And now you're here. You definitely have that tension of we might actually fail. You don't want to have it where I'm sure your characters may roleplay that they're cocky and there's no worries. We got this. But try to do something to show maybe you don't. Maybe there's something that you didn't know about that you realize, oh no, we're in trouble here. Like an example I had where Eric would come in and hit the person with 1,000 damage. Well, let's just say that he hits them and either they had a force shield on the entire time, you just didn't see it, so all that damage is absorbed, or they kill the whatever main bad guy is and they transform into another thing and they say, thank you, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted you to do that to me. But again, I know we're talking about combat, and really, that's what it kind of. I've tried to have talking endings to campaigns, and it always comes down to combat.
Well, if they can't talk their way out of it and they fail, it's going to lead to combat anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
or a situation where they're, because even, they might come in there and be like, "Wizard, I convinced you that, you should stop this because you have family." And the guy's like, "I can't, it's too late." And, and then
Yeah, it could be something
he
tragic
ends
like
up
that
dying and
too.
releases a spell, and you have to fight the monster that's released from the spell or whatever. And
Ooh, there's an
yeah,
idea. Or yeah, or the person was controlled the entire time and you now break that curse, but now you have to fight the monster that was controlling this person. So you did save them in a way, or release their soul, or whatever. So yeah, the main bad guy might not actually be the main bad guy.
so never mind. Don't have those non-combat endings. Always have combat endings.
See, and that usually makes it epic. Is the big fight at the end, the
Yeah.
climax, and it's fine. But
Or
try
the
something
combat
new.
comes first, and then you have the resolution as part of the talking that decides the fate, or
All
you
right.
know, I
Yeah,
don't
so
know.
let's talk about that. We talked all about combat, all these different examples, trying to do other things at the end. Let's talk about the resolution now. We're wrapping it all up. You defeated whatever you needed to defeat or overcome. What do we do next with the
You
other end of the
give out
climax?
a big sigh of relief.
Mm-hmm.
My character survived.
We go and we get loot, and then go with that
Loot the
money,
bodies.
get loot the bodies, and go buy some bacon. I sense an overlaying
We all die
theme
from poison.
here, and then just die.
Yeah. All right.
But yeah,
Resolution. Yeah. What do we do?
yeah.
You figure out what happens to each character as far as you
Mm-hmm.
solve any issues that, and let the characters or the players know if they are poisoned at the end of it. Or you now have a poison that is not curable by magic, and you have to find the cure somewhere in another domain.
Mm-hmm.
Or everyone's like, what do you do now? Do you just continue on, or do you guys
Mm-hmm.
retire?
Yeah. Whatever their characters are or want to do, definitely play off of that. And like you said, some people might be like, well, I enjoyed playing this character, but the next time we start up, I want to play a new one. And that's perfect. So then you can say something like, yeah, say your goodbyes to that character and say, all right, well, I'm going to go off over here or back home where I'm needed more. So I'll talk to you all guys later. Bye. And that's also a good opportunity if you want to talk to that player and say, can I make it an NPC? Or do you just want to keep that character? Maybe he comes back, maybe not. Just an idea.
Visiting the town and finding out what happened to the town if you're saving a town. Just going back through and giving, give the characters, like I said in the bad example I gave, I guess earlier, was we died because we didn't succeed, and the guy said, "Oh, you just died, and the world is taken over."
Mm-hmm.
It kind of, I would like a description or something, maybe a little more as to how the world is taken over. Maybe our player characters see the world being taken over. Like your
Yes.
dying breath, you watch these things release from the depths of hell, and they go through and take over.
And
Blah blah.
and that's another example or story time. I remember another ending. I won't ramble on this one, I promise everyone. But yeah, they fought the main bad guy, and only one character survived. And they came back, and I was able to describe through that character's eyes to everyone else what had happened. Like they erected some statues in the town square for the heroes that saved everyone. He goes and hands a letter to a family member and saying that they had written earlier, said here he had passed, but here's a letter he wanted you to read. Actually, then maybe seeing a ghost of the heroes together somewhere. It's kind of like a wink and a nod, like you survived. You're the only one of the group that did, but we're kind of still here. In our spirits are still here. So doing that is kind of interesting.
I
Seeing
think
how
whenever
that.
you watch a movie, usually there's always this little thing at the end that says, "Oh, we did a good job, and these people are safe. Let's
Mm-hmm.
fly on to the next area."
On to the next thing. And then the cliffhanger by their graves, the hand juts out, reaching towards the sky, and it's a zombie hand. And then it cuts
I
to,
want my ship back.
whatever. And it cuts to Vincent Price laughing.
That's how all campaigns end.
All of mine do. Yep.
Yep.
Every single one. It's the exact same ending. Like, whatever. Lee, your dumb ending. Zombie hand. Anything else you got, Dan?
I was trying to decide if I wanted to tell about a bad movie ending.
Yeah, do it.
That would be a bad campaign ending. That's in a movie form. My suggestion would be Batman versus Superman.
As a bad ending?
A bad campaign ending, I think.
Sure. Well, okay.
Yeah,
Spoilers for Batman v Superman, but I don't remember what happened at the end of that movie because it wasn't good.
I had high hopes for some of it, but Batman fights Superman, of course.
Okay.
And the big joke was that they stopped fighting because they both have a mother named Martha.
Martha. Why did you say Martha? Oh, Martha.
What?
Yeah.
But then, then there's this big monster they have to fight.
Doomsday.
So a
Yep.
big monster appears and they have to fight it. Doomsday appears and Superman sacrificed himself.
Oh,
To me,
yeah.
it was like, I felt bad because the monster, I feel like Doomsday was thrown in there
He was. Yeah. As they needed to
when
fight something.
they needed something, but I wanted to see Batman versus Superman.
Yeah.
I didn't want to see Batman versus Superman versus something else, and then Wonder Woman pops in there too.
Yep.
I mean, it was just there's a lot of things popping in that just didn't make sense to me. And once Batman and Superman like bonded through the Martha moment,
Ooh, the Martha
the
moment.
rest of the ending to me just
Meh.
it was thrown in there and didn't make sense to the rest of the movie. It just didn't flow for me.
Yeah, and I don't want to talk about this movie because I would go on and on about it, but let's use that example as something that you do in your storyline, and maybe you're trying to add all these other things. You're trying to create this giant world on this little campaign that you're doing right now for future events instead of focusing on the main story. The main story is Batman v Superman. And why are they fighting? What's going on? The ending should end with them together, or more or less. And then the stinger could be, oh, we have to get together because there's something worse coming. But we don't see that at the end of this movie. But that's the next lead up, the next campaign. Yeah,
To me, I think the best ending for that would be if Batman did beat Superman.
Sure.
Maybe he does still see the visions that Superman might come back and be this horrible thing that he thought it was going to be or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But and then you find out something worse is coming.
Yeah,
and he's like,
oh
shit, I killed Superman, which could have fought this big thing.
Exactly. Superman was the only thing.
Now I have to create Justice League.
Yep. Superman was the only thing that could have stopped this thing, and I took him out. Oops. And now you're like, oh shit, it's on now. As instead of just you saw stupid dreams and the Flash was there for some reason and you were in the desert. And okay, wait, I won't talk about this movie.
We won't get there.
No. But great example. Really good example. All right, so that was ending a campaign. If you'd like to send us questions, you can do that. Roll of the Dice podcast at gmail.com or on Facebook at Roll of the Dice.
In our next episode, we'll be talking about introducing a newbie to RPGs.
Noob.
Role-playing games.
Role-playing games, yep. Tabletop role-playing games. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Tabletop role-playing games, yes. So just remember, keep shaking those dice, and may your roll be true.